Welcome back to the World Championship Series Europe Round of 16 Premier League Group D. We're well underway in Group D after Stardust won the opening game. It's now time to turn our attention to the second game of the group, and Apollo is back with me. Thoughts on Stardust early on? Was impressive, wasn't he?
Looking good.
Amazingly, badly for us Europeans in a way. We've been building up this all week. It's been very even. It was 9-7 when we came into the round of 16. We've since lost a few of the Europeans on the way, and it's now 4-2 to Korea. This group, I have to say, it looks like being 6-2, doesn't it?
I mean, Stardust and San are big players in the StarCraft 2 scene. Nerchio has troubles versus Zerg and has had troubles getting past like a round of 16 performance as well. So, and then you got Live Zerg, who's making his first appearance in the round of 16. So you put those two against Stardust and San, it clearly favours the Koreans.
Yeah, it does indeed. Let's take a look at all four players in Group D and show you how they stack up against each other. As we said earlier on, Live Zerg ranks 68 in WCS right now, but the big numbers are with San and Stardust, or the smaller numbers, which are better in this case. Number 4 in the world and number 11. Both of them really, I guess, with one goal this year, and that's to be playing in the global finals. That's what they both want. Nerchio and Live Zerg, on the other hand, they can play the spoiler role in this particular tournament. There's no pressure on them to reach the top 16, but they can, on their day, both of them can play really well and they can beat these players.
Absolutely. Nerchio more so than Live Zerg. Nerchio, I think in the games against MC in last season, almost beat him with his Mutilus Corruptor style, and it really put MC on edge a little bit when they were playing. So he definitely has it within him to beat Protoss. He doesn't like playing Protoss. He's got a weakness though, is that he doesn't like to play Swarm hosts. And if you know that your opponent doesn't like to play Swarm hosts, you can try to play against that already in your brain. And he's also very predictable in Mutilus play. So
yeah. And we've already seen San's PVZ is absolutely astronomical.
Oh,
just fabulous. I mean, he's ranked number 2 in the world right now on a Ligulac, and it almost seems crazy that he's only ranked 2 because it's that good. So we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. Let's take a look at the bracket first and show you how we're progressing this evening. We've already had our first game. Lives are going down in 2 games to Stardust. First game was, well, I think Apollo was right. I could probably have analysed that myself. The second game, not so easy, but straightforward in the end for Stardust to go through. And then Nerchio versus San is our next game. These two are going to play, one of these two is going to play Stardust in the upper bracket. On paper, it looks like San. They're both just getting ready with the map vetoes right now, so it gives us a little bit of a chance to talk about this particular matchup between the two of them. Nerchio has great stats across the board. He seems very comfortable in almost all race games, but never quite outstanding in one. I mean, similar to San, San is fabulous in PVZ, but his PVT maybe not so good. But that doesn't matter to him tonight. He hasn't got any Terrans to worry about.
Yeah, San has a really good chance to get really deep in this tournament because he doesn't need to worry about Terran. He's a specialist against Zerg and a specialist against Protoss. That's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. So map vetoes incoming now with San and Nerchio. We were talking a little bit about maps, and we've had a bit of a discussion on those.
Checking the map vetoes.
You are checking the map vetoes out. Updated stats for us suggest that there are 3 popular maps right now: Overgrowth, Frost, and King Sejong Station. Is that more because of the way that we've had a majority of Zerg and Protoss in play?
Yeah, I think Terrans like merry-go-round, so that may have come up a little bit more, but yeah.
Pretty much going as we thought Frost might go here. Although I tell you what, Nerchio and I were discussing. I wonder if he's going to. I reckon he gets rid of Overgrowth.
Yeah, I think he doesn't like habitation.
We had a chat just before. Oh, you're right. I said to him, the Zergs are losing on Overgrowth to Protoss, and he said, "Really? That's interesting. I play okay on it." And then we looked at the stats, and we sat down and looked at them, and we were like, "Actually, you know what? Zergs do lose on Overgrowth to Protoss." So. We'll have to wait and see whether that's going to be the 3rd map here. King Sejong's going to be 1. Is Frost number 2? It's almost like Eurovision Song Contest, waiting for the votes to come in.
It is, yeah. I'm quite surprised that Nerchio got rid of Altazim. Considering his playstyle, Mutilus are very good on that map. But, he's gone the traditional Zerg route, and they don't like that, so...
Indeed. So, King Sejong first, Frost second, and... should we need it, the 3rd one will be Overgrowth. Popular maps, the 3 most popular maps in the map pool have been in the round of 16 and were in the round of 32. So no real surprises in that lot. First of all then, let's take a look at the 2 players in a little bit more depth. These two haven't met before either. Nerchio first up, our Polish Zerg from Team Acer with a 26-23 win-loss record. It's not that impressive, but Yeah, Apollo putting in his 2 pence in there as well. I know Nerchio doesn't enjoy playing against Protoss. I have a feeling that today will be difficult for him, but there is certainly hope for his advancement. That's very professional of you.
That's true words. I spoke right from the heart. Right from the heart.
Okay, as we said earlier, ranked 44 WCS right now. They have met once before. It was in a Go For Cup. It was online. Can't take a huge amount out of that game. San did win it, but it was a best of 1, so we treat that with the respect that it deserves, but obviously it's not going to make a major difference to how they stack up against each other.
Nerchio on a good day, I mean, let's just look at his history. He was one of the best non-Koreans in his prime. He has it within him to beat San and beat Stardust today. It's a very, very, very difficult task, and I'm not just saying very for no reason, Red Eye.
He's one of those players that we think of as a great player from the past. 2012 was a great year. He won a DreamHack. He won a Home Story Cup. He was pretty much in the running for almost everything that year. Yeah. But has since fallen down the list and fallen out of favour, if you like. But still a very dangerous player, and he's a dangerous player in this group. But we've often said, we talked about MMA, 2 years since he last won a championship, then won a championship. MC, almost 2 years, then won a championship. Bomber, 2 years, and then suddenly comes alive at Season 2 final. Is Nerchio in that same kind of bracket as those players or not?
For me, I don't look at him in the same light as those guys. For me, I look at Nerchio, who is a former champion who misses the same drive and motivation to push himself further and get better and become the player he used to be. He's very content and just being consistent at being top 32, top 16 in Europe. He misses that drive.
Okay, let's take a look at San now in a little bit more detail. San is probably one of the favourites for every tournament he enters this year. It's been a real change for him. Last year, 2013, was a little bit wilderness, actually. Challenger League in Korea, Challenger League in Europe. Just couldn't seem to break through. Suddenly breaks through in Season 1 this season. Asus ROG was absolutely superb, won that. He was 5th to 8th in the Intel Extreme Masters World Finals, 2nd at IEM Singapore, 2nd at Asus ROG. So, I mean, he's just had a real tear in the last 9 months or so. And his record 34-13 right now in WCS.
Since October, I think, he hasn't finished lower than a top 8 in anything. That's
top 8 in absolutely everything since, including
that's unheard of.
The GSL Global Finals recently as well.
That's absolutely fantastic. This guy is consistently one of the best, and it's not consistently round of 32 or top 16. He's consistently fighting for titles in every single tournament he enters.
What do you put that down to in terms of the difference between 2013 first half of the year and the second half? Well, last third of the year, should we say, in 2013 and the first half of this one. What's the major difference for him? Why has he suddenly broken out?
I think he just all of a sudden clicked and said, I know how to play Heart of the Swarm. And then he just got it. And then he just plays the races, the matchups perfectly. Compared to that same player in Wings of Liberty, who definitely struggled, the Broodlord Infested days, Terran at the start of Heart of the Swarm, he then just clicked and said, I know how to kill Zerg. Right, okay, I got it. I can play PvP as best as anyone else can, and I'm not a slouch against Terran either. He just gets it.
Gets the light bulb moment actually came on for him, and he hasn't looked back since. Thank you very much, Apollo. Time now for our second game of Group D to find out who goes through to play Stardust. Is it San or is it Nerchio? Can he relive some of the old dreams he had from 2012? Or is it the current master of the race, San, that takes his place in the upper bracket final? Let's find out with Kalaris and DeMuslim.
All right, we've had one PVZ. It's now time to move on to another as San faces off against Nerchio. This is going to be an interesting one, as Nerchio has always not really liked having to play this matchup and then getting drawn against San in his first game.
It's super unfortunate for him. He's constantly hated Protoss throughout his career, but even with that hate that he constantly talks about, he's always done incredibly well against Protoss, or at least when he had his home story cup streak where he beat all those Koreans.
All right, well, let's get into it as we have spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner for game number 1 as our red Zerg. Representing Team Acer, it is Nerchio. He's having a lot of fun today.
He certainly is. He's been smiling a lot.
I'm surprised. And up to the top left-hand corner, we have our blue Protoss. Representing your Flash Wolves, it's San.
And this guy's just been a monster for so long now. Nobody really wants to touch him.
Scary dude. I actually peg him as one of the most feared pro gamers right now in terms of, especially WCS Europe. If you spoke to any single player in this tournament right now, in the like, who don't you want to play? San is at the top of that list almost every single time. He's so aggressive, so good at every single aspect of the game that it's a scary guy to go up against.
Yeah, he's so all-round good. He's one of those players that is consistently never making a mistake, and his builds are scary, and they're all top-of-the-line Korean builds too, and here Forge open up, so Nerchio definitely doesn't want to be opening up with a hatch first. That'll be mighty unlucky here.
Yeah, so goes straight into the spawning pool to start off, even though he hasn't seen anything, but eventually he will see that probe coming over with his Overlord, unless it scoots around the edge, but that would have been very close. So, yeah.
Does see it, which, you know, even if he doesn't get the cannon rush off against a hatch first, he can still block the hatchery for quite a while, so it's going to serve a purpose, and Nerchio doesn't yet know what his opponent's going to be doing, but this Overlord, in fact, his Overlord starts flying back a little bit on the map there, so a little bit of a misclick by him, but he's safer now, which is always a nice thing to be.
Second probe moving out, San. What are you up to, you little cheeky guy? Oh no, he's decided to come back all the way.
Just going for an expo, I suppose, but 18 out of 18 supply. Is he going to let this pylon finish so he gets unsupply blocked? That'd be kind of unusual, but no. Nerchio will be up. And that was nice by Nerchio. He ran in vision's range of it, but not vision range for the building structure.
Yeah.
So San didn't actually get to see that, and then Nerchio slips in and puts up a hatchery. So that was a nice play by him.
All right, San continuing the wall off, and will eventually have his Nexus up and running and finishing good to go at around the same time as the hatchery finishing, actually. So nothing really to take from this, other than the fact that Nerchio, if he wants to, can start thinking about going for that third base, which he already is.
Yeah, a couple of links are going to be on the map, which will hunt down probes and just make sure that there's no pylon at that third base upon arriving. So the third will get down for Nerchio, and now we have a very standard game on our hands. Forge, fast expand for the Protoss, and a 3 hatch for the Zerg.
And this is where things now develop for a player like San. Like, what does he want to do? He sees the third base, he gets confirmation of that, that's cool and fine, with the gateway finishing up and then into the cybernetics core, but does he go for a +1 weapons, for example? Does he start his normal Zealot aggression, which has kind of fallen out of fashion for him for a while, but 2 Overlords here are quite interesting. He's going to trade positions, bump him away.
That is odd to have 2 Overlords in the same spot. I think that was just, again, maybe a little minor mistake, but he will maneuver into a better position in which the Overlord could maybe scout the main later on.
Sneaky probe. Whoa!
He is very sneaky with his probes. One probe kind of was getting hit by the Zerglings running back to the base, but no worries for Zan. He had another probe on the map ready to slip on by, and these Zerglings none the wiser.
All right, so I'm wondering actually how he's going to use this probe, really. Is he just going to go in there and try and spot if his opponent was going for something a bit aggressive, or complete the idea that the third is still there? Nerchio isn't one to really play too many mind games with the idea of a third. He poked forward and saw it was there again, so this is interesting by San.
It is interesting. We have a Stargate follow-up for him too, which built at the front by this cannon. It's a hard place to scout. I guess Nerchio could fly that Overlord in a little bit, but there's always a threat of getting shot down. San throws up a third gas as well. Very, very tech-heavy play by him.
All right, well, as this develops on, what are we seeing in terms of the drone count? So 33 to 34, so San's been chrono boosting into those pretty well. Zealot now pokes forwards over to this third base, but isn't really going to get a whole lot done without support. And that Oracle, now it could cause a few problems, but it will fly straight over the Overlord and be seen pretty rapidly.
Unless he takes a different path, in which most Zergs do put their Overlord there. Nice micro by San here, just getting a few extra hits off with that Zealot. But there's only 3 Queens on the map for Nerchio and no Spore Crawlers yet, so it's not one of these situations where you fly into 2 Queens at the natural and it's kind of like, oh dear, oh, he does fly straight across it, so Nerchio knows what he's up against.
All right, well, layers morphing in for Nerchio behind all of this, with these gases going down as well.
Did he not see that Oracle? I don't believe he did, because there's no reaction yet to it.
Yeah, it's a little strange. This Oracle just decides, oh, I'm going to go hell for leather on a few of these drones, and there are technically 3 Queens out, so they can all join together. The one from the main takes a little longer because the creep isn't exactly connected, and 8 workers dead to that, so that's pretty nice in terms of starting.
It's incredibly nice. That Oracle went uncontested, just flew to the base. Nerchio obviously didn't see it with any of his Oracle or any Overlords on the map, and ran in there. There wasn't even a Queen to greet him immediately, so lots of free hits for San there, and lost mining time for Nerchio. Nerchio does see that there is a third going up, and immediately you can't be feeling too good in this situation.
Yeah, just heading on the Roach Warren from here with lots and lots of drones, replenishing what he's already lost. To be honest, despite losing 8 drones during that, he's still up at around the 60 mark or so, with 9 more on the way. So his economy is still going to be extremely strong, but likewise is Sands if the third goes uncontested. So it's kind of blow for blow in that way.
Sand still making use of this Oracle and finding naked mineral lines. There's only a queen here, another 4
That's
kills.
good.
This shouldn't be happening. And Nerchio's kind of letting it. Going for a blink afterwards, and there's a Spire follow-up. Oh, proxy.
Oracle! It's moving towards
this
it!
Oracle is going right over there. Is it going to see this?
If it sees the creep on the floor, it sees the creep. Why is there creep there?
Yeah. Why on earth is there creep on my map in this location? Should fly back there soon, but I think he's totally not noticed it.
How does it look on the minimap? It's very... Unless he goes back down there with his camera, it's very hard to notice. It's just a small blip on the minimap in his vision, so...
And I mean, you know, how many Zergs normally proxy a Spire randomly on the map?
Nerchio's really well known for it, though.
He is. Well, I've seen him proxy at the 12 o'clock location, a Spire one time, and... yeah, if Sand did a little bit of homework, he could have maybe noted that Nerchio is capable of that kind of thing. But here, Nerchio's getting away with it.
Yeah, right now he seems oblivious, despite seeing a little bit of that blob of the creep and was not fully aware in the end. Now Sand is actually looking to put on some pressure. Hydralisks and Roaches are going to be able to hold this at bay along with Spines, and then the transition for Nerchio could be devastating. Thankfully for Sand, he has Blink on the way to try and keep things at bay for a while, but... how well is that going to work across these 3 base locations?
Nerchio killed the probe there, so that's the only pylon. And the funny thing is, this is a scary army from San, but Nerchio's the one that's breaking the rocks ready for that army. That kind of baffles me, and San must be a bit confused here.
Yeah, that is still a strong army, you're right. There's a lot of force fields in that for San. He's going to pull away, though, thinking that there is a bit too much to break through there. And a robo facility is not exactly what you... really want against what's about to come. He still has no idea about this.
Hydralisks, Mutas, this is a very, very gas-intensive army, and he's only on 3 bases right now. Nerchio's circling around the perimeter, just killing a few overlords here and there. Not yet with an observer, so he can't deny creep, but he's just making Nerchio feel very uncomfortable about his situation.
I mean, being shown Roach Hydra, you're like, oh, great, Robos are lovely, lovely answer to this, right? But the Mutalisks, once they pop, it's going to be difficult. At least on the left-hand side, he's going to deny this 4th base from going down. That's nice. It is oftentimes quite difficult for Zergs to really establish it if Protoss is being active on the map, but the Mutalisks are just going to fly straight on by into that mineral line uncontested.
There's nothing there to greet them, so these probes are going to take a big hit here, and this is not what Sam wants, and Nerchio's got to be feeling happy about this. This was a total surprise, and even multiple buildings being cancelled by San in the main base. This is great for Nerchio.
Yeah, cannons to try and reinforce to hold this off, and meanwhile his army is over the other side of the map trying to do some kind of damage. There's a few Hydralisks and Roaches, actually quite a lot of Hydralisks there. If he gets a good concave, he might be okay with this. The force field's really not separating up enough that they need to, but those second force fields help out quite a bit against those, and the Mutalisk is still doing quite a bit of damage. I think the Stalkers are doing mighty fine at the front.
They're doing incredibly well, but his income's so low, so he can't keep reinforcing this Protoss army. 300 minerals per minute right now for San. If Nerchio keeps holding on, he's going to be in a great position, but can he hold on? That is the question.
Right now, army supply for San is 78 to 40, so it's just really those Mutalisks and this kind of weird base trade scenario that we ended up in that's kind of holding on for Nerchio. I mean, his army standing here isn't that amazing. The drones know he's in trouble, but if he can kill the Stalkers somehow, some way, he's still in an alright spot. The drones fighting for their lives along with the Hydras tanking for them.
He's doing this. He's actually holding back this army. 110 supply for Nerchio against the 61 of Sam. What is the harvest count? 42 to 41. The game's kind of been reset. Though, Nerchio is left with a much bigger army. Nerchio is winning this game.
He only has 4 Mutalisks left over at home, so he will need to replenish those and try and get going again. But overall, the standings in terms of those army supplies, as you said, like those 23 Hydralisks, what can you do against this Hassan? There's really not a whole lot to his name right now to be able to hold off if Nerchio just wants to get aggressive.
No, this is a big army from Nerchio, and immediately popping off some of those vital units at the front there. Now there's a wall that San has to hide behind, and he's going to start losing these vital structures, and GG is cool.
Nerchio takes game number 1 here against San. That's a really good start here for Nerchio. He came in today, we saw him, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to win the group, I'm going to win the group. And when you've got San and Stardust in there, you're thinking, oh, that's going to be pretty tough, Nerchio, but he showed in game number 1, he did all right.
He did more than all right. That proxy spire on the map that almost got spotted really did win in the game. Even if San did fly Phoenixes into the base of Nerchio, he just assumed, hey, it's Roach Hydra. This guy's playing completely standard, but nope. Nerchio flew right across the map and started doing mad economic damage, and it secured him a pretty solid victory here.
I'm under the impression San's probably watching the replay very, very quickly, because you need to after something like that. You're like, well, what's going on? Although he's only as busy, so whatever the case now, Nerchio is 1-0 up against San, and that's a big deal because San very, very rarely loses to Zergs. Very, very rarely. So that's a good start here for Nerchio, but can he continue it on Frost?
A mighty unexpected start too. I mean, lots of people look at Nerchio, they're like, okay, this guy, he was great a long time ago, but you kind of look at him and you say, well, where's he been for the longest time? And he does decently well in WCS. He qualifies to the top 16 here. Just to get to this point in time is very, very good. But here, taking a map of one of the best players that we have throughout the whole entire WCS, with some very Nerchio-esque style play too, he did it in his own way.
He did. And the scary thing about Nerchio is that when it comes to that kind of proxy spire play that he showed there, I mean, he's always really liked the Spire in this matchup. We've seen it time and time again, to the point where he goes for big Mutalist Corruptor compositions. But what is scary is sometimes he can show the Spire in his main and have something ridiculous like a Hydralisk Den proxied somewhere else. So just something really weird that he has thrown in from time to time. So you can never be too sure against Nerchio. You've always got to have a second scout, and you've always got to be very map aware.
I like the fact that he utilizes that lair tech overlord spread and just kind of proxies tech on the map.
Yeah.
No other Zerg takes advantage of that, and Nerchio
very rarely
makes the game immediately awkward by just having that in his arsenal. And I love how Nerchio talks in the chat before the game too, just typing GG in a smiley face and such. He's so awful. He's so awful.
His smiley faces, man. It's so antagonistic, but it's so fantastic as well. For me, Nerchio is like he's one of the villains of EU StarCraft, but I love him for it. I absolutely love him for it. He just exudes that kind of atmosphere, but his game is so good that he can back it up. You know, I love it.
You're totally right. He is that guy.
That guy.
He is. He's obnoxious to a lot of people, but in a funny way. You know, it's just him. He's still really nice and always smiley.
All right, let's get into it. Game number 2. This guy could take it 2-0 if he does well here on Frost. Spawning as our red Zerg, representing Team Acer, it is Nerchio. And down to the bottom right, we have our blue Protoss, representing Yo Flash Wolves, it's San.
Great game by Nerchio, that first one. And he really surprised me with a few of his moves. Like when San's army was walking across the map, most Zergs kind of scared about dealing with that situation. But when he just kind of started taking down those rocks and made 2 spines, kind of wanting to be attacked or fight in that location, Nerchio just plays ballsy. He really does.
I'm wondering if it was almost reverse psychologist, like, hey, I'm killing the rocks. Yeah, come up, bro. Come on, I don't really care too much.
I think so. And San, he didn't attack that location, even though he got prepared and put proxy pylons down. Took out quite a lot of overlords around the map too, and you know, did a decent job of just saying, hey, you're not going to spread creep here, even denying the 4th, but he did not expect what was coming there at all.
Yeah, and this map in particular is something that a lot of times I've seen Nerchio on, and you know, doing his kind of proxy shenaniganry, etc. But at the same time, the spawning positions here, if San wanted to get aggressive, it's not too far away from an opponent in these bottom locations. But for now, Nerchio's just going to open up nice and safe.
We've seen a lot of Zergs handle this map in very, very different ways. Snoot.
Oh, yeah.
He plays Swarm Host. We've seen him play on these horizontal positions against MC, actually, in the IEM qualifier, in which he just put Swarm Host in MC's face and just never let him breathe. So that kind of Zerg style is pretty awesome also, but Nerchio tends to stay clear of Swarm Host, so he's not going to be too happy with these locations, I can't imagine.
Yeah, that's actually an extremely good point, and something that when we're casting Nerchio in PvZ at the start of a group, it's something that we should always bring up. He does not like Swarm Hosts. He is a guy that will instinctively navigate away from them, and that's something that a lot of Protoss know. If we know it, Protoss know it, right? So that does alleviate a little bit of the Protoss stress in essence, but Nerchio in turn feels that Protoss like San, for example, generally don't have too much problems against Swarm Host, so he doesn't really care too much in the end.
He doesn't. And just one thing I want to note about San there. At about 3-minute mark, he moved his probe to the top of his natural to check for that Overlord, to see if it was coming from that direction. Saw it wasn't, and then moved onto the map to kind of scout the other way. So that was nice, smart. If he saw the Overlord at the top of his natural, then okay, he knows where the Zerg is, but saw it wasn't there, so the likelihood is he's going to be either at the top left or the bottom left. So nice bit of smart scouting by San there.
Yeah, it's good awareness in the end, it really is. With the timing that he sends it out, that's for sure. Ling's being annoying, and they will be able to be pushed away in the end.
If they cancel this, though, this is a nasty little supply block that San doesn't want to happen, and does save it, which only just, though, 36 health on that, and those Lings do escape. And
he actually, I think he adjusts his wall there and actually puts it in front of the pylon so it's a bit more defended. So that's actually going to be a bit annoying to wall off. He'll have to throw down an extra pylon later, which technically leaves him vulnerable for this window, but it's very rare that Nerchio would ever try and do anything, especially since he doesn't have speed right now.
Well, one thing that Nerchio does like is Hydras, and having a wall that's that exposed with the gateways and such. I just mean, that's a huge... You can get a huge concave on that wall just dealing damage with... And if you only have Stalkers and Mortals and Sentries behind that wall, you can't do anything about it. Those buildings are going to die. But 3 gateways on the way here for San. Looks like aggression.
All right. This is what he's known for, this kind of play. Chronoboo's constantly into the Cybernetics core for quite a while, and 4 gates worth of Zealots is certainly part of San's infamous nature, really. This is what he was building a lot of his PvZ on it back in 2013, the Intel Extreme Masters Singapore.
I think Nerchio sniffed this out, though. I have not seen any drones produced for a while. Going for a Roach Warren, multiple Lings here. Is he just making an insane right call?
Yeah, I think he knows what's up. He's got those Lings positioned at the front, and he saw when Warp Gate came in, so he's like, well, this is a little bit earlier than usual. Why are these Warp Gates already morphed in? And a wave of 4 Zealots, that pretty much confirms your suspicions of, well, okay, he's probably got 4 gates behind this.
What a great call by Nerchio. He's seen the front wall, he kind of knows what he's up against here. Roach is popping out, and yeah, this is very heavy gateway pressure for San, but upon being greeted by Queens, Roaches, and a lot of Zerglings, how much will this do?
Well, the Zealots doing well against the Zerglings on this left flank. Roaches and Queens are going to have to retreat out pretty fast, but the Zealots are trying to go first round. Will block one of those Queens out at least. Nerchio trying to micro it, but unfortunately does not save the first one. The Roaches is just going to have to micro back themselves to deal with all of this. It's a lot of pressure, but probes are being built behind it for San, whilst Nerchio is building no drones and having to still defend.
Yeah, these Zealots are doomed to die here, but going to hunt down a few drones in the meantime. Nerchio microing away very well. Is that Queen going to pop too? Bit of a sad loss there.
Yeah, but Nerchio, he kind of...
he droned up, droned up.
He felt that he kind of has to eventually, otherwise if he's building too many units and his economy's falling behind, it's a very, very difficult position to be in for a Zerg, but San just continues this pressure on, and it's so difficult to balance your lava around this kind of attack.
Much easier for the Protoss player indeed. He's still making probes while this is happening, which Nerchio, even if he does survive, is he going to be in a decent position against this? Probably not.
It's going to be hard. That Mothership core still being annoying, getting pushed away by that Queen, but Stalkers as well as Zealots working away at this hatchery. Going to kill that off whilst the Stalkers keep the Roaches at bay. And this is a sad tale here for Nerchio. I mean, this kind of play is what San is known for, being in your face very, very early, controlling these small skirmishes and doing significant damage with them.
Indeed. A lot of damage has been done. The third's down. Lack of drones. 29 drones to 37 probes. This is a great position for San to be in, and this was just a very, very cute timing by him. he did nothing wrong whatsoever.
And now Nerchio's worst suspicions have been realized. He saw the robo facility behind all of this as well. Yes, the roaches and lings push that out back up for a little bit, but the stalkers as well as those zealots, they survive through that wall of zerglings, start getting on top of these roaches, and he can focus weak roaches down there, and indeed he does.
Very, very nice micro by San. Runs back home with everything intact. Used very nice time warps, and every time he can get a few extra shots off, he does. Just really solid by him. And look at this mothership core queued up and tagging those roaches.
Poor little guys. Unfortunately, there's only one queen out during all of this as well, so if it wanted to come for the defense, it would have a hard time pushing that away for a little bit. And then where is all your lava at this point? He's at 34 workers to 41. So it's desperate times here for Nerchio in game number 2. And I was quite surprised at how Sam played out in game 1, because I was expecting a bit more of this, a bit more of being in your face, because that's what Sam does. And then when he brings it, this is what happens.
I think he was showing quite a lot of respect to his opponent in game 1, actually. And rightly so. Nerchio, he was a true contender for championships a long time ago. When there were talks of, hey, Stefano's the best foreigner, well, Nerchio was one of the guys that could beat him quite consistently, even if people didn't really know about it, and they never really met in tournaments. But yeah, Nerchio, very solid. He is a scary name to play up against. But here, great army by Sam. This is one you don't want to meet.
Yeah, and with the economy that Nerchio has behind this, how do you actually produce enough to be able to deal with the 2 Immortals and Sentries? Right now he has 9 roaches. He's going to have 7 more on the way, yes, but the space control ability of those Sentries is what really is going to define this push and make it all the scarier.
I don't believe he has roach speed either. Like, great creep spread coming down here for Nerchio. He's doing what he needs to, but solid force fields is only a small chunk of Nerchio's army that's fighting at one time.
There you go. GG. San ties up the series 1-1 with pretty much the standard San play.
Standard San play, just tight, well executed, and he just goes straight for the throat.
Yeah, very, very strong there in game number 2, tying it up, doing well for himself. And for now, that means our final map, I believe, is Overgrowth, right? So
it is Overgrowth.
Yeah. And I mean, I was talking to a lot of Protoss players over this week, and you know, some of them believe that similar styles, like those immortal pushes, work great on a map like this as well. So Nerchio is going to have to be careful if something like that comes along, because San is very, very well equipped to do something like that. But likewise, Nerchio showed us a good game in game 1. No reason we couldn't see something like that again from him.
Certainly. Overgrowth is a bit of a large map, so walking across the entire map is a bit more difficult with your slow Immortal army. It's also fairly easy to scout. With the Overlord hanging over the natural, get to see everything there. Although you can deny scouting with either Stalkers, Sentries, Mothership Core Vision, but it's a nice map, I think. It's a well-rounded map for this matchup.
All right, well, we're getting loaded up and good to go. San versus Nerchio for game number 3 to find out who is going to move on to the winner's game to play against Stardust. This is going to be interesting as we now get right into things. Looking forward to it. Spawning down the bottom left-hand corner, we have our red Zerg representing Team Acer. It is Nerchio. And up to the top right, we have our blue Protoss. He's a scary guy indeed, representing Yo Flash Wolves. It's San.
San has to be feeling very confident after that second game. I mean, there was nothing that Nerchio could do. He even started producing units extremely early against what San did, and it didn't stop him whatsoever. Just microed solidly, knew exactly what he needed to do, which was pressure that third, and overwhelm Nerchio in a way that I don't think Nerchio's ever had happen to him before.
Nerchio's going to have to find a way around something like that in this game if it's to come again. Because San, he may just say, well, what isn't broken, don't fix it, man. I'm just going to do the same thing, and it's still scary. Even if you know it's coming, you as a Zerg have to cut your economy. You have to cut your economy, otherwise you're going to die. And then there's always going to be a follow-up as well. So it's a real brutal thing to deal with as a Zerg.
There's always that situation that's how much is my opponent investing into this attack? Is it an all-in? Is he hoping that he's going to attack me with something later, but just hoping that he cripples me a little bit here, or hopes that I overcommit? And Nerchio, during that push, when he started making several drones, that really didn't help him. And then the push that did kill his third, Nerchio just... it was a sad situation, because it's always one of those things that if you know exactly what your opponent's doing, you can probably deal with it, or you will deal with it much better. But in this case, San, what he did, like, I felt that Nerchio was knowing everything and still could not stop it.
Yeah.
It was just great play by San.
I think, though, that wave of drones renders your point completely proven, right? That wave of drones was the thing where Nerchio was like, I know I need economy, but can I sneak these in? This is really difficult.
And the answer is no, you can't sneak them in, because as soon as you do that, I'm just going to warp in an extra 4 Stalkers and do you in. It was really, really clean play by San, and there was some probe sneakery across the map. Like, he got a nice pylon very close to the third base. The fact that he got a probe out onto the map anyway was a bit of a letdown for Nerchio, because as soon as you have that pylon, you're going 4-gate pressure against Lings and such. Zealots just cut them apart, and I think that was maybe that was the start of things going terrible for Nerchio. Just the fact that there's a probe and a pylon so close to his base.
Yeah, it's a really good point, actually, because that probe was so sneaky, even I kind of missed it sneaking around. Like, I eventually saw the 4 gates and going down, I'm like, all right, well, he must have a probe moving out soon. There's already one on the map. I'm like, oh, dear me. So, yeah, Nerchio, bad times for him in that game. But for now, San has got confirmation of the natural. It's going to run away. And we'll be anticipating a third base going down pretty darn soon.
Yeah, one thing that San's done very well in this series is just sneaky probes. Probes being chased, bringing out new probes to replace them. And even this probe that's getting chased with Zealot kind of searching around the map here. Not really sure what he's searching for exactly, maybe just a few Lings and wants to pop them in the whatever. But here, Mothership Core does greet these Zerglings that are chasing this probe, so it will survive. And this is where... Oh, are they actually just going to get in the base entirely?
And they're going to see the 4th gateway.
It's the same build for San yet again.
Yeah, I'm not surprised he goes back to this, because it's so strong, but he's going to see the 4th gateway if he just wiggles around. There it is. Okay, so this is really good, a good start here for Nerchio. What is he going to do in response, though? This is very, very important, because he could take a lot of damage once again. Even though he had a Roach Warren coming in at a very similar time last game, it still wasn't a successful hold. So I think he's going to try and buy time for more Roaches as opposed to Lings here whilst this goes on.
We'll see what he does. So here he's droning up as much as he can before things get dicey. Where's this pylon being built? Okay, so it's kind of close to the third base. This is a very close pylon yet again, and in quite an awkward position. Nerchio has no idea about this, so there's going to be pressure at his front door very, very soon.
I think the plans may have been abandoned, and maybe it'll be like a wave of Zealots to try and force out some units, but other than that, just transition on.
Cancelled his third.
That was one of the reactions that we were looking for, and Nerchio does eventually go for it. There's 2 Zealots down there. There's 2 Zealots. He's warping in just a few more. He's wanting to make it look like this is still continuing on, but notice that Nerchio is still sneaking in some drones here and there, thinking he's going to be okay on these 2 base, which for now is relatively correct.
The fact that he's making drones is something that I'm so happy for Nerchio. And here, San scouted. With the probe, sees that the third was not there, was going down again. Nerchio has quite a few units out in the field. Now he knows that, hey, my opponent just kind of bluffed me a little bit upon me seeing everything, and lots of drones being produced, and yet again.
Yeah, he's having to add on a few more Roaches, though, because there are those Zealots now they're hitting. But Nerchio has to realize that the timing for this kind of 4-gate play, it's not really been as aggressive as it was before. He's still going for drones behind this, so he knows that this is a bit more of a fake than anything. But look, the harvest is still so even.
Yeah, Nerchio did a decent job of saying, hey, you know, you can kill me with what you just did, and just said to himself, hey, it's not worth the risk. Even though I've scouted everything that you're doing, will I be able to survive with that third? And he said no. And then he started droning afterwards once he realized that he'd been kind of sussed out a little bit. Here, he knows he's against Void Ray tech now, or at least Stargate tech. 3 gateways going down as well. He's going to play so aggressive.
Is this going to be a... It's like, if he... It would be so cool to actually just see him walk across the map like this with a very similar composition to Immortal All-In, but just replace the Immortals with Void Rays.
If you're a player as good as Sam with as solid micro as he's displayed, right-clicking and shift-clicking with those Void Rays on all those Roaches instead of having them focus Queens, they're going to do the exact same job as Immortals. They're going to melt those Roaches.
All right, well, there's a ton more drones on the way for Nerchio. This Overlord will see that pylon at the third, thus revealing the idea of a third base, but there's no probes in production, so...
Oh... And lots of drones still being produced for Nerchio. So San, I think he's doing a great job of selling this third idea. And a very good job. In fact, so many drones being produced, but this army marshalling across the map, Nerchio has to know what's happening now.
Yeah, seeing that with that link, it's going to help out just a little bit, but that's still a lot of power behind this army, especially since he did stifle the economy a little bit.
The Spire's at the third, so even if the Spire does get up, or in fact, even if the Spire does get up, it's going to be attacked. This is the base that San is going for, so... Very vulnerable spot for that Spire.
And this is the spot on Overgrowth that can be so difficult for Zergs to hold, and it's just not going to be held at all. This base is going to have to be forfeit. No way he's going to be holding this at this point. The drone's trying to wiggle around. There's still so much room for him to force field off wherever he wants there. Hydralisks are being added on, but they're not going to be out in time.
No, they're certainly not. 6 Hydras on the way, and yeah, they do start leaking, trickling out here. Queens being force fielded. Wow.
2 base Void Rays doing all right for themselves with those sentries as well. Who needs Immortals when you can just have flying Immortals? This is crazy stuff. San following up his faked out 4-gate aggression with tendencies of aggression as always. It's crazy stuff.
I have no idea how all those drones leaked by those force fields because they just seem to slither through. But here, pulling all these drones, it doesn't look good for Nerchio at all here.
Yeah, it's desperation days once again, as he does try and deal with this as best as he can with those drones to buffer. And they do a decent job for a while up until the point where they're all disappeared and there's only a few Hydralisks left with the Roaches to hold on. Needs a little bit more energy on these force fields, and with other sentries, oh dear me, you can't even make any more units. Oh.
No, those Overlords were misrallied there, running into his opponent, just all getting diced up by Void Ray, Sentries and Stalkers, and San's done the damage that he wanted to. Kane killed the third base, killed a lot of drones. The worker count 40-41 in favor of San and GG.
There you go, San is able to take the series 2-1. Nerchio was looking good in game 1, but then San turned on the kill switch for the next 2 games and decided to kill this Zerg.
It really feels like that too. He just, first game, he respected his opponent, went about it in a macro-centric sort of way, kind of scouted him out and such, missed the Spire entirely and felt a big blow that way. But second 2 games, wow, he just went straight for the throat, and
yeah.
Why not? He does it ever so well. It didn't look like Nerchio stood a chance, actually, in either one.
And that means now that San in 2014 in the WCS system is currently 10-0 versus Zergs.
That is scary.
What do you do? Like, it's once he flips that switch, once he is back in San aggressive mode, it's very, very difficult to stop him. He knows every angle, every way to kill you from 2 bases, or a faked third into 2 bases.
Yeah, the fact that he got scouted in that third game too, and it was like, hey, I know what you're doing, and he just said, okay, I'm not actually going to do that, but I'm going to do something else that will kill you slightly later on.
Yeah.
So, and he's so scary that you have to take him very seriously no matter what you see. So you always kind of have to hinder your drone production. That's not a position that a Zerg ever wants to be in.
Very, very scary indeed. Those stats, I mean, we were talking about Stardust stats before and him being an absolute monster, but San is right up there as well. And 100% win ratio against Zerg in this year so far in WCS tournaments. I wouldn't want to be a Zerg going up against San. He's 14-2 now across the entire WCS system, so really, really scary indeed.
Very solid player, and his other matchups are great too, so he's a player to look out for.
Yeah, so one of these Koreans is going to be advancing on. Let's head over now to our winners match to see what San has to say.
Thank you, Kalaris. Yes, with San. Congratulations, San. Carmack trying to wind him up in the background. Carmack's, ignore Carmack, it's fine. First of all, map 1. Wow, we were all sitting there thinking San's great at PVZ, he's not going to lose this one, and then you lost map 1. Why? What happened for you?
첫 번째 맵에서 이길 줄 알았는데 너치한테 첫 번째 맵을 지게 된 이유가 있다면?
진짜 오랜만에 오프라인 대회를 하다 보니까 좀 너무 많이 긴장이 돼가지고 좀 손에 땀이 엄청 많이 나요. 그래서 다 이긴 경기를 놓친 것 같아요.
Actually, I was a bit nervous because it is a offline tournament, and I didn't participate many offline tournaments in the last couple of weeks. So my hands were actually very sweaty when I played, and that's why I lost the game.
Okay, second and third map went much better. What sort of tactics did you have in mind for Nerchio, knowing that he can be a very tricky player coming into this?
다음 2경기, 3경기는 잘 이겨냈는데 어떤 무슨 전략적인 생각을 해가지고 이겼는지 설명해 주세요.
첫 번째 경기를 지고 그냥 제가 잘하는 거를 하자 생각해서 제가 자주 하는 플레이를 했는데 그래서 이긴 것 같아요.
Yeah, after losing the first map, I thought I should go back to my roots and just play what I always play, and I think that's why I won.
Yeah, what is it about Zerg? Like Stardust, you seem to be very, very good against Zerg. Why?
왜 이렇게 저그 상대로 잘하는지.
일단 빌드 하나로 지금 하나 가지고 한 반년째 먹고 살고 있는 것 같은데 자 좋은 빌드를 만든 것 같아요. 제가 생각해도 뿌듯합니다.
So actually, I'm playing the same build like for a year now, and it just works. So
no one's figured it out yet.
I'm kind of proud of it that it works. It still works.
Okay, thank you very much, Sam. Well played. Sam is through to our upper bracket final where he'll meet his fellow Korean and also Zerg killer Stardust. That game will come up a little bit later on our losers matches next. But first, let's check in with some analysis.
Hello, Professor Apollo here again, and I'm going to do some analysis. I think, actually, you know what's better than me doing analysis? Well, to be honest, not a lot. Yeah, I'm just gonna.
All right, welcome to the analysis desk, guys. I wanted to see actually the game number one, which is I think the most fun out of this series, and this is the time where Sun is actually taking his third base, and Nerchio is making his tech choice, which is the Hydroden, Spire, and Roach Warren at the same time. But the Spire is completely hidden at the left side of the map. And Nerchio already prepared to do this kind of strategy because this Overlord is already here for such a long time. And the Spire is thrown down now. And then, if we resume the replay now, Sun is going to barely miss the Spire here. He will see the creep, but he will never actually notice it. Like, you're not going to come back to the minimap and check, oh, maybe there's some creep over there. And that's why Sun is going to push out with some sentries with Blink Stalkers and +2. But Nerchio will have a lot of units to defend against it. First of all, I thought Sun will not want to commit to that, but he stopped production and he started to make proxy pylons. He warped in a lot of stalkers, and Nerchio is actually killing his own debris, which is saying like, "Come at me, bro! I'm ready for your attack. Please go up and attack." And Sun is actually hesitating with going up the ramp. Then if we just speed up a little bit, Sun is trying to push out Nerchio defense more or less, and then when the Mutalisks come, Sun is on the other side of the map. And he doesn't see the Mutalisks at all. So the Mutalisks are going to do a lot of damage to the economy of Sun. They were completely unspotted, and therefore Nerchio has a lot of time to prepare his defense against the Blink Stalkers that Sun has. He has a lot of Roaches, he has a lot of Hydralisks with some Speedlings, while the Mutalisks are doing a critical damage to Sun's economy. This fight is not so good for Sun, even though there's like not a lot of units actually for Nerchio here, but the reinforcements will keep on streaming in. Nerchio is even pulling the drones to make the most efficient fight he can get. And in the meantime, the Mutalisks are still killing the economy of Sun. The supply is getting slowly but steadily in favor of Nerchio. Then just pure Hydra Link versus pure Stalkers is not really great for Protoss. And then Sun just will have to tap out. So I think it was a very nicely executed hidden Spire for Nerchio. And I think it's something that Sun should be aware of because Nerchio used to do that in the past. And that pretty much sums it up for game one. And I'm like, well, done. Let's go to the poll.
Thank you very much, Mana. Didn't think I'd ever see the day where Mana broke down a Nerchio game, that's for sure. But there it is. It's in history books now, and you can relive it all in the VODs on youtube.com/ESL, of course. We'll put all of the WCS round of 16 matches on our YouTube pages. Also, you can interact with us via all the usual channels, our Facebook pages, and on Twitter, all the official ones as well, at StarCraft, #WCS if you're going to use Twitter. And forget about that thing that they're playing with the round ball. It's all a big baloo about nothing. Stick with us. We've got more StarCraft coming your way after the break.